I would now call upon the Mayor, Councillor Matthew Dickerson, to officially welcome you to Australia Day 2023.
"We'll all be ruined," said Hanrahan, in accents most forlorn. Outside the church, ere Mass began, one frosty Sunday morn. The congregation stood about, coat collars to the ears, and talked of stock and crops and drought, as it had done for years. "It's looking crook," said Daniel Croak. "Bedad, it's crook, me lad, for never since the banks went broke has seasons been so bad." "It's dry all right," said young O'Neill, with which astute remark he squatted down upon his heel and chewed a piece of bark. And so around the chorus ran, "It's keeping dry, no doubt." "We'll all be ruined," said Hanrahan, "before the year is out. The crops are done. You'll have your work to save one bag of grain. From here way out to Backaburk, they're singing out for rain. They're singing out for rain," he said, "and all the tanks are dry." The congregation scratched its head and gazed around the sky. "There won't be grass in any case, enough to feed an ass. There's not a blade on Casey's place as I came down to Mass." "If rain don't come this month," said Dan, and cleared his throat to speak. "We'll all be ruined," said Hanrahan, "if rain don't come this week." A heavy silence seemed to steal on all at this remark, and each man squatted on his heel and chewed a piece of bark. "We want an inch of rain, we do," O'Neill observed at last, but Croak maintained we wanted 2 to put the danger past. "If we don't get 3 inches, man, or 4 to break this drought, we'll all be ruined," said Hanrahan, "before the year is out." In God's good time down came the rain, and all the afternoon on iron roof and window pane it drummed a homely tune, and through the night it pattered still, and lightsome, gladsome elves on dripping spout and window sill kept talking to themselves. It pelted all day long, a-singing at its work, till every heart took up the song way out to Backaburk, and every creek a banker ran, and dams filled over top. "We'll all be ruined," said Hanrahan, "if this rain doesn't stop." And stop it did, in God's good time, and spring came in to fold a mantle o'er the hills sublime of green and pink and gold. And days went by on dancing feet, with harvest hopes immense, and laughing eyes beheld the wheat nodding o'er the fence. And oh, the smiles on every face, as happy lad and lass, through grass knee-deep on Casey's place, went riding down to Mass. While round the church, in clothes genteel, discoursed the men of mark, and each man squatted on his heel and chewed his piece of bark. "There'll be bushfires for sure, me man, there will, without a doubt. We'll all be ruined," said Hanrahan, "before the year is out." Yeah, thank you. Now, that famous poem, said Hanrahan, written by John O'Brien, was written in 1919, 104 years ago, but it could well have been written just over this last time frame, because we've had drought, we've had floods, we've had bushfires, but if you're writing it today, you'd probably add a couple of extra stanzas. We've had mice plagues and we've had pandemics, so you could probably extend that poem now. But what's great about that poem, and it is a very pessimistic poem from Hanrahan, but it's the complete opposite, and that's where John O'Brien was coming from when he wrote that. That was the complete opposite of what we've got in Australia. We have got such an optimistic attitude and such a can-do attitude that things like bushfires, drought, flood, pandemic, mice plagues, we take in our stride and we just keep going forward. And one of the things that people see from around the world about Australia is it's a very laid-back, casual attitude. It's a bit of a she'll be right, mate attitude. But that attitude is a very deep-rooted attitude to making things an optimistic view or getting things done with an optimistic view. So despite all these problems, despite all the adversity, we seem to just keep soldiering on. And every time we talk to people, it's always this optimistic view. So when I talk to people from around the world about what a great nation we live in and what great people we have in this nation, one of the things that I do talk about is that everyone seems like they've got this great positive attitude and this great looking forward future. Now, when we talk about the future, one of the things that I get very excited about is the melting pot that we're creating in this nation, and in particular in the Dubbo Regional Council local government area. We've got Lewis Burns, who you heard give a welcome to country, is going to give an Aboriginal elder address later on this morning, and the 60,000 years of history of Aboriginal descendancy here in this nation, here in this particular region. So that's significant. That's significant around the world. But then you add to that the 48 people we're going to welcome into our country today, the new citizens we're going to welcome. And one of the things that I think is magnificent about this country is we don't care if you've got 60,000 years of history or 60,000 seconds of history. We welcome everyone to this great nation. So it is an exciting day to be Australian. It's an exciting day to be proud of what we have here in this nation. So as we go about our day today, and in fact every day, what I ask of all the citizens of the Dubbo Regional Council area is just remember what a wonderful nation this is and just be very proud to be an Australian, which I know everyone is. So have an absolutely wonderful day, everyone. Thank you for coming along. It's great to see a huge crowd here. Thank you for coming along and have a fantastic day. Thank you.